It's sweet, it's sticky, it's delicious, it's smoky, it's pork deliciousness. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to G-Rod Grills. My name is Gerardo. Today I'm going to be doing the first of a 3-part rib series on the Bradley 4-rack digital smoker. The first video we're going to be working on today is going to be a 3-2-1 rib. So if you're not familiar with what that is we're going to be smoking the ribs for 3 hours, then we're going to wrap it for 2, and then we're going to sauce it for 1. The next video is going to show you a 2-2-1, and then the last video is going to show you a no-wrap rib. We're going to be using St. Louis style cut ribs on all 3 of my videos. We're going to season them all the same. And on the last video, I'm going to tell you which one I prefer for my taste. You get to make up your own mind, try them all out and see which one works for you. 3-2-1 is absolutely the most beginner-friendly type of rib that you can make. This is solely based on time, and it's going to taste great. It really yields that fall off the bone rib. If that's exactly what you're into, then this is the type of rib you want to try to do. Are you ready to get going? Let's go. All right, here we go. So here's our first rack that we're going to do. We're going to do this one 3-2-1, and I'm just going to season them all the same. And what I've got here is a spare rib that I've actually trimmed down into kind of a St. Louis cut rib. There's really not much to do on this side. Only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the membrane off. You don't need to pull the membrane off. You can actually just score it with your knife, and that'll be perfect to allow the smoke to kind of get through. But we're going to do it anyway. It is, you know, it's kind of what I've always done with my ribs. I've always pulled it, either pulled it or scored it. So depending on how much time you've got. I'm only doing this rack today, so not a huge deal. And what you want to do is just with a paper towel here, you want to kind of just get to the corner and see how that kind of starts coming off. The paper towel just makes it easier for you to grab. And then once you've got it, just kind of pull. Doesn't always come in one shot. Really not a whole lot else to do. You know, if you do see any kind of hard pieces of fat all throughout, you want to kind of get rid of. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of mustard for my binder. And this is going to help me when I apply my rub. It's going to help my rub adhere to it, and it's also going to kind of show me what areas I've hit and what areas I haven't, or kind of where I need to kind of get into. In my house, we like our ribs a little bit on the sweeter side, so I'm going to use a little bit of a sweeter rub mixed with a little bit of savory, and you'll see as we work through the rest of it how I'm going to add a little bit more sweetness to it altogether. But anyway, so let's get going. In here I've got just it's a kind of brown sugar, garlic, pepper, a little bit of salt, some paprika for color in there as well. And we're just gonna kind of cover it. That's it for that one. I'm also going to be using the Tailgaters Party Rub. Goes really well on pretty much anything. This is a kind of a very peppery, garlicky rub. A little bit of salt in there as well. Now I'm using the coarser rub on top. This one is the coarser of the two, as you saw when I put it on. When you put your seasoning in, you want to make sure you just kind of pat it in. If you've got time, you want to let this kind of sit in for another 5 minutes or so, and before you kind of flip it over. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and flip her around. Again, we'll repeat it again. The fine rub first. I just realized that I actually forgot to use my mustard binder, but that's okay. As you can see, you don't really need the binder altogether. There is still plenty of moisture in the rib itself that will kind of let it adhere. So we won't go without it. Just means we got to let it sit a little bit longer before we put it on, just because we want that rub to kind of really take on and adhere to the rib. And that's it. That's all we're going to do to this rib. Now I'm going to let it sit at room temperature here for about 15 to 20 minutes, just while I get the Bradley up to temperature. You'll see that the salts and the sugars kind of melt into the meat, and you'll start releasing kind of this meat I call a little bit of the meat sweats. And that's when we know we're ready. You want this to be a little bit moist before you put it into the smoker. That's all we're going to do for this one. I'll show you once we're ready to put it into the smoker. All right, so here we are. So it's been about 20 minutes or so. You can see here from the rib, the meat's starting to sweat a little bit. Got a little bit of that kind of glistening to it. That's the way you want to see. So once you've got that kind of moisture on top, it's ready for the smoke. All right, here we go. So we've got our ribs ready to go here. It's looking beautiful. We're gonna put it in here. We've got the Bradley running at 250 degrees, And I've got some apple biscuits in here ready to roll. Apple and pork just go really well together, so always my go-to. Apple. If all you got hickory is delicious too. Really, you just want to add a little bit of the smoke to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of advance here some biscuits onto the burner and get this rolling. So in here, see, I've got my water pan ready to go underneath here. Hopefully you can see that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this rack on the bottom tray. Give it a little squeeze if you can, just because you want to shape this rib as much as you possibly can, because how you lay it on here is exactly how it's going to finish cooking. So make sure that you give that a little squeeze either way. We'll close that up. I'm going to come back in about an hour or so to come and have a look at it and see how it's doing. If it's looking a little dry, I'm going to give it a little spritz. What's going to happen here is this is going to sit in here for the next 3 hours. I'm going to leave it undisturbed for the first hour. And then after that, if I need to spritz it, it's going to be every half an hour, kind of on the nose. So I want to make sure you keep an eye on it every half an hour. If it's looking a little dry on the top, give it a little spritz. We're using apple biscuits here. Apple and pork go really well together, so we're going to do that. All right, so about an hour has gone by. Whew, it's looking a little dry a bit. Let's give it a little spritz. And this is just apple juice with apple cider vinegar. Just enough to get it wet. I'm gonna go ahead and spin this rack around as well, just so that I can get the other side. And give her a spritz on this side too. So all we're gonna do for now, we'll be back in about half an hour, 45 minutes, and check it out to see where we're at for dryness. All right, so it's been about another 45 minutes or so on our 3-2-1 rib. And that's this one in the middle here. We got a little bit of drippage happening here. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of clean that off. Get a nice little color on this. I'm gonna spin it around. Gonna dry off any of these little spots on here that have come up. It is looking a little dry here though, so we're going to give it another spritz. Just enough to kind of moisten the top. Put that right back in there. We got a little bit longer to go, probably about another hour or so before we get to wrapping this one, and I'll show you that when we're set to wrap. Okay, here we go. So it's been 3 hours for this in our 3-2-1 cook. Hopefully you can see there, it's looking pretty good. Nice little bark formation on there, nice beautiful color. Looking pretty good. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna get this ready for wrapping, and I'll show you how we do that. The way we do it is we take a little bit of brown sugar. I'm just gonna take probably just enough for about that much, about the length of the rib, just to kind of go down the middle. Once we've got that, I'm also going to put down some pads of butter, and this is just regular unsalted butter. Really important you use unsalted because you probably have some salt in your rubs and you don't want to introduce any more salt to this as it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of honey, and this is just regular honey, and throw it on here. Now you can omit all of this if you'd like. You don't have to put it on there. I like this. I think it adds a really good flavor profile to the rib. And I'm going to put some of the same rub that we put on it, just to kind of a little bit on top here. Now I'm going to take this, and we've had it cooking like this the entire time, so it's been bone side down. I'm going to put this now bone side up on it, and for the wrapping, I've got 2 pieces of foil here. I'm going to grab 2 pieces, pretty simple. You're going to go over, and then we're going to go over across this way as well. And the reason why we do 2 pieces of foil is just in case any one of these bones kind of poke through. And if they do, that way they don't kind of poke through the foil itself. And now we're just going to kind of roll it over and roll it over again. The next thing is, now that you've got this little kind of hole in here, I'm going to take some of my spritzing liquid and I'm going to put some in there. Now that's just going to help with the moisture, and also make sure that any of those sugars that are in that rub, plus the sugar that we just added, don't burn in our cook. So we got to make sure that we know which side's here. So we've got meat side down, bone side up right now. So I'm going to just fold that up this way. And that's it. Back on the rack, and we're gonna put it into the smoker like this. Again, meat side down, bone side up, and we're just gonna put this back on the smoker, and it's gonna go in there for the next 2 hours. So that's the 2 part of 3, 2, 1. And I'll show you once we're ready to take it out of this wrap, and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. You can see here, we've got this awesome pullback on these, and they are looking gorgeous. Hopefully you can kind of see that there. Oh, there's fall apart tender at the moment. You can see it, they're not even holding on their own. So I'm gonna kind of put them back in here, and I'm gonna sauce them. So to sauce, what I'm using here is a half and half sauce. It's just a rib glaze along with my barbecue sauce, my favorite barbecue sauce. What we're gonna do here is we're just going to kind of pour it on top and just kind of paint it all the way across. If your barbecue sauce is a little bit warm when you put it on, it'll be a lot easier to spread. It won't stick, or it won't leave you these kind of crazy streaks on it. This will be so much better. And now we're gonna move on to the last portion of this cook here, which is the final hour back in the smoker, uncovered like this on the rack. And we're gonna let that barbecue sauce set for the last hour of this cook. And so we're an hour away from eating. I can't wait to get my hands into this one. All right, so here we go. This is our 3, 2, 1 rib. It is, just put this around a little bit. You can see it is absolutely fantastic. It's a little fall off the bone. It smells great. So let's just give this a shot here. Just gonna show you. Look at this. The bone just comes right out. You know, no effort. This stuck on with the sauce here. Good tasting rib. Just gonna go ahead and cut into one of these here. The sauce is definitely pretty sticky. It's pretty stuck on there. It smells fantastic. Let's have a little bite here. Nice and tender. It's sweet, it's sticky, it's delicious, it's smoky, it's pork deliciousness. It's a good rib. 3, 2, 1, by far easiest way to cook a rib. If you're just starting out in the smoking, 3, 2, 1, you can't go wrong. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Also, if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss out on any content. Also, coming up is going to be the next video installment in this 3 video series on ribs. We did this one 3, 2, 1. The next one is going to be 2, 2, 1, where we smoke the rib for 2 hours, we wrap for 2 hours, and then we sauce for the final hour. And just let that sauce set in. So stick around, make sure you come back for that video, and that's all I got. So I'm gonna go back and eat some more of this. You come back for the next one. We'll catch you on the next G-Rod Grills.